What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Reaper Report, where we strive to bring attention to curious and odd stories that happen to real people every day. Hey guys, it's the Reaper. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be talking about Christopher Watts from Colorado, who murdered his wife, who was 15 weeks pregnant, his 3-year-old and 4-year-old. The story does take a super dark turn. You can kind of see where the wife is kind of picking up on some things, and it's a really unfortunate event because the family just looks picture perfect. Well, I hope you guys enjoy this story. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Be sure to tell your friends. Thanks for bearing with me. If you guys have any suggestions or anything like that, please let me know. I'm totally open to it. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Have a good one. All right, so who are the Watts? Okay, we have our main culprit, Chirs Watts. Chris was from North Carolina, who met Shennan Watts in 2010. He seemed like the picture perfect guy for her. Shennan was going through a lot of health issues. She was diagnosed with lupus. She had tried to give him every out possible. If you watch the Netflix series American Murder, The Family Next Door, it kind of goes into a bit more detail on that. The couple ended up getting married in 2012, and they moved to Frederick, Colorado in 2013, where Chris had gotten a job at Anadarko. Now, for those of you who do not know, Anadarko is a giant oil and gas company, which is why this made national news. And I mean, aside from it being a horrible, gruesome murder, what's so crazy is that the family just seemed perfect. So you're probably wondering, if they were a picture perfect family, why did he go and kill the whole family? Well, let's backtrack a little bit. So on August 13th, Nicole Atkinson had dropped off Shennan. They were at a conference in Arizona for their company called Thrive. When she had come back, you can see video footage of her walking back into the house. Over the weekend, Shennan had spoken about how she didn't feel like her and Chris were close anymore, how she was really going to try to get intimate again, get kind of back together. She didn't really understand why he was being so distant, and this had been going on for about 5 weeks. Nicole had said that they had been trying to get her to eat, trying to get her to drink, have fun, kind of just like break out of that funk, but nothing was really working. So August 13th rolls around, and like I said, she had been dropped off. Nikki had then tried to call her that morning. She didn't answer, so then Nikki got really concerned and called the cops and Chris. So Nikki calls Chris and is like, hey, do you know what's going on? I haven't heard from her. Have you talked to her? Chris is like, no, I haven't seen her since this morning, since I left. So being a good friend that she is, she drove by the house, didn't see any movement, so then she called the cops. Cops show up. Chris is already on his way back. Cops are not able to enter into the home because legally Chris isn't there, Shannan's not there. You need, permission to enter. Once they gain access into the home, Chris had shown up by this point. They searched the house a little bit. It's totally fine. It's clean. They go upstairs and they find Shannan's phone on the balcony. Now, this is where it gets interesting. There are 3 messages from Chris. One at 7:40 saying, if you took the kids, just please let me know where. One at 12 o'clock saying, call me. And another one at 1:19 saying, I'm on the way home. Now, I'm not pointing any fingers yet. So at this point, the police are asking the neighbors, hey, did you guys see anything suspicious going on? Does anybody have surveillance cameras or anything like that? There's one neighbor that's like, yeah, I got some cameras. So they rush over there. They go check out the cameras. Chris is like, yeah, I left at like 5:15, 5:30. That's the last time that I saw her. The neighbor is like, yeah, bud, I see you trolling around right there. Chris is like, yeah, sometimes I park on the side. There's some people, breaking into garages and stuff. So, I just moved my car. And the neighbor's like, I got you right there, dude. Like right there. So the police start questioning a little bit more. They're like, did you guys get into an argument of any kind? Chris is like, it was emotional. But it wasn't like an argument. It was just an emotional conversation. We were both crying like babies. The conversation that they had earlier that morning was that Shennan wanted to get it on. Chris was like, no. Shennan was like, who are you sleeping with? But that's at a later time. So the police start investigating a little bit more. Nicole starts putting out flyers and things like that, trying to, spread the word, trying to find them. So after the officers had kind of went around and, given out flyers and things like that, they went back and asked Chris a couple questions, and they were like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? He's like, I just want them home. I just want them home. Just so, not the demeanor of somebody whose family may be missing, his pregnant wife, his 3-year-old and 4-year-old. Like, seriously? So the officers bring in dogs to help search the house. And during the search of the house, one of the ladies is like, call me old fashioned, but this place is a little too immaculate. It's way too clean. And, someone else is like, yeah, it is really clean. Now, if you remember, the neighbor was like, he's blabbing too much, so it doesn't make any sense. So Chris gets brought into the police department for an interview. And he's talking to the officer, and the officer is like, can you tell me a little bit more about the fight? Chris is like, well, we had been away for 6 weeks. You really get to know someone once you've been away from them for a while. And, the spark just wasn't there anymore. So a couple more questions go on. Finally, he ends up submitting to a polygraph. So of course you're thinking, oh, he's submitting to a polygraph. No big deal. It's fine. He surely didn't do it. What's I think is just so great is that the lady who is giving the polygraph test is like, now listen, only one of us knows what happens. But, at the end of this, there's going to be 2 of us that know. And he's like, yep, I'm here for it. Let's get it done. Let's get her done. During the polygraph, he gets a little antsy, and she's like, dude, let's breathe. Let's take some deep breaths, and then let's do it. So she asked him a couple more questions, and ultimately he ends up failing the polygraph. That's so bold. Like, he knew he was going to fail. He knew. And he still took the test. I don't understand why he didn't just come clean. And prior to all this, he's talking to the officer, and he's like, I'm just thinking about it. Did I cause this? Did she just think about it and then just take the kids and leave? She had left her ring, and she had left a ring and a note for him on the nightstand. He also mentions during the interview that he didn't really think, he thought that she just up and left. And then during the day as it progresses, he's like, with all the canine units, the cars and everything, someone possibly took her, but it had to be somebody that she knew. Chris and Shennan were in North Carolina. It had been about 5.5 weeks since they had been intimate. Shennan had tried to rekindle the fire. She took a night shower. He didn't want to do anything. He decided to go do some push-ups. Now, while I love working out just as much as the next person, right? Shennan had asked him, is there anybody else? It doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you want to just be with me? He's like, I'm just tired. There's no communication. Yeah. Every excuse in the book. During the questioning, they find out that Chris had actually been seeing a girl named Nicole Kissinger who worked at Anadarko. They had been seeing each other for about around the time period that Shennan was gone in North Carolina with the kids. Nicole had been told by Chris that he did have 2 children, and he was in the process of getting separated with his wife. Now, I don't know about you, but speaking from past experiences, I wouldn't trust it. During the questioning, Chris is getting a little flustered, and finally he's like, can I just talk to my dad? And so they end up bringing in his dad, and he confesses to his father. What? He tries to play it off that Shennan had hurt the kids, and so he had to kill her, that he was just in this rage. At the end of the day, Chris wanted to get Shennan and the kids out of the way so he could go and start a new life with Nicole. That never works, ever, because if you are willing to kill off somebody who loves you unconditionally, what are you going to do to the next person? Now, in the next part, there will be a trigger warning as I discuss the actual murders. So if you are not comfortable with children murders, which nobody is, but they need to be talked about, then I suggest you just go ahead and skip this part. Okay, so the night of the murders, they actually ended up getting it on. And the next morning, Chris had woken up and she was like, how are we? He's like, I don't think this is gonna work. She was like, well, what about last night? What happened? So then apparently he got mad because he couldn't tell her that there was somebody else. Shennan had said, you're never gonna see your kids again. So then that's where things got a little bad. Chris had told Shennan that he didn't love her anymore, and she was like, get off me. Then he put his hands around her. Chris ended up strangling Shennan, and then Bella walked in. Shennan was face down at this point, and Bella was like, what happened to mommy? And he's like, don't worry, she's just sleeping. Bella ends up going back to her room, and Chris pulls his truck back in to the garage and takes Shennan back downstairs to his truck and puts her in the back. The girls were in the back seat holding each other. They were asking, is mommy okay? Chris is like, mommy's fine. Don't worry about it. What's also so crazy is that he had a 45-minute to hour drive to think about everything that he did and what he's about to do. Once they got to the site, he brought up Cece first. There was about a 20-foot opening, and he ended up putting a bag over her head, and he said that she didn't struggle. He went back down to go get Bella, and Bella had asked, what happened to Cece? He didn't say anything and proceeded to do the same thing, and Bella said, Daddy, stop, Daddy, no. He claims that's all he can hear to this day. Chris ended up getting charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. Even though Colorado is a death penalty state, because he pled guilty, he got out of the death penalty.
All right, everybody. Well, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for stopping in and listening to the Reaper Report. Tell your friends, send me some suggestions. Let me know how you're feeling, good, bad. I want to hear it. I love to hear it. Have a beautiful day, make good choices, and I'll talk to you next time.